Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Houston We Have a Problem Live. Not done any for a while. I was on holiday for a week. Big Kev. I think he's fair looking at me because I've not done one for about 2 weeks. So please forgive me. But tonight we have Shawnee Boy, and Kev might be along later on, and we should see Alex for Spartans, and he's going to come in hopefully and do a wee half hour, explain some of the stuff he's been up to. I've seen he's been pretty active while I was away, and I was asking him what's the surge all about. So joining me for the night is Shawnee Boy, who, if you're on Twitter, you probably know him through the Uncensored Patriots, who do loads of daily X spaces, which are always good chat. While Shawnee's working up a crane, he's a crane driver, so he's normally a few hundred feet up in the air. And you have a new and quickly rising YouTube channel, Shawnee. So if you want to tell the folk a wee bit about that and where they can find you, and anybody that doesn't follow you just now, can maybe jump on either Twitter or YouTube and give you a follow.
How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, mate.
You have a nice holiday?
Aye, so where can the good people find you, mate?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So, yeah, people can find me on X. So that's ShawneeBoy89. So that's SeanyBoyy89, and that's on X. And then the YouTube channel is the Uncensored Patriots Official. Yeah, that's for the YouTube channel.
Somebody's put into the comments that they're having problems hearing my mic. I've tried to turn it up there. Can you hear me okay, Shawnee?
I can hear you. I can hear you sound, mate. No problem.
Right, okay. If anybody else has got a problem, maybe stick it into the comments. So the YouTube channel, mate, quite new, but you've had a few great good guests so far, haven't you?
Yeah. Surprisingly, it's gone surprisingly well. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I'm not too, familiared up with it all, Craig. You know, I mean, I'm still getting used to all the ropes and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So I'm still learning, mate. It's still a learning game for me. All this lives and stuff.
Yeah.
But I say, if I've got any issues, I'll come to you, mate. You're like a little mentor for me.
Aye, and you've pulled some decent guests, haven't you? You had Ben Habib. Who else have you done? Bar your dad, right? That was your first one, wasn't it? You and your dad.
Alex is here. Hello, bud.
There's Alex.
Always so serious face. Where's your cup of tea, brother?
There it's here.
Has he got your cup of tea? Yeah, mate.
I'll swap you, Alex. I'll have the pink one, right? You can have the proper Spartan one. Came into trouble, Story.
They're well cool, man. I'm going to get one of them.
Because that's his logo that he uses for the Spartan group. And when I was in Greece, I was passing by this shop selling all the fakey stuff. And they had a big Spartan thing. And I took a photo of it. They told you better buy that, you miserable twat. But I wouldn't have gave them the 25 quid for it. But I saw this at the airport and instantly thought of Alex. So it's sitting here waiting for him. Hopefully we can catch up this week and he can put his pink one, can give that back to whoever it is that owns it and have a proper manly Spartan one. Does he even get Spartan in here, like? So I saw that at the airport.
That's smart, mate.
My better half, she's not too happy because I took a scarf off her and wrapped it in the scarf so it didn't get smashed on the way home. So, Alex, you've been bloody busy since I was away, or was I just like seeing every post you ever put out? But it seemed to me every time I logged onto Twitter, you'd managed to get a hold of another one. Were you busy, or was it just the way I was seeing your posts?
No, we've been busy.
Local or up and down the country?
Local.
He's got to be fucking torturing, isn't he? It's like he's got to get drawn teeth.
No, it's just I keep forgetting he's so serious face. He's just like, how do you see that?
That's the face I told you about earlier, Shawnee. He's ready to go face. So wait, have you? Has it been busier than normal, Alec, or was I just seen?
No, it's never. It's never any busier than it is another day. It's always busy. Sunday was a busy day. Nationally, there was 9 stings conducted on Sunday all over the country. On top of that, there's probably dozens more stings being put together for Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. But you know, Sunday was a really effective day. There was a lot of live streams on Sunday and a lot of results.
And was that Scotland only, or was that up and down the country?
That was all over the place. But there's been protests, and like when I say protest, removals of already convicted individuals from homes. That's been active all weekend as well. We've been out doing it. One of the other teams have been out doing it, which is mainly what they do. Yesterday, last night, Saturday, it's just constant. This is constant. It's not going away. It's just going to get worse.
And you were involved in a wee thread I seen earlier on with the two girls that have walked away from the grooming inquiry. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm surprised. I'm only surprised that they were there that long. I'm really, really glad that they've found the strength to call it out under their own steam, resign from it, do it publicly, and that they're going to be very vocal on it, on how bad it is. When I was asked right at the very beginning what my thoughts were on it, on the subject, not because I'm the authority on it, I'm certainly not, but I do have an opinion on it. I said it would be a whitewash from day one.
Yeah.
I also believe the other inquiry that has been conducted from public donations will also fail to produce anything of note. It will only tell us what we already know. And I really hope that the people conducting it aren't thrown under the bus at the end of it when it doesn't give the public what they expect from it. I hope that no one is used as a scapegoat, and I've got a feeling that might happen, however subtle it might be done. I believe certain persons that I don't want to name will be used as scapegoats, i.e. in the sense they'll say, well, if you're not happy with the results, take it up with them. And at that point, I will be extremely vocal about defending certain persons, not through friendship, just because I feel from the off that the inquiry was more about political gain and public gratitude than a genuine reason to shine a light on the truth. And I believe that the other main inquiry, the government inquiry, is only being done because its hand was forced by Elon Musk and the wave of emotion that was propagated by his posts, or it would never have happened, and we would never ever. We're not going to get the answers anyway. But I think both of them are really, really flawed. And I'm glad that people are starting to be vocal about it, that I've got insider knowledge of it, because I was blocked from getting involved and I was not even entertained. So I'm deeply suspicious of anything that's a closed shop from the off and that only selects people that would maybe be pliable and moldable and go along with a narrative.
What do you mean? Still there, mate? You're in trouble?
Me?
Aye, what do you mean?
What do I mean?
A bit pliable with a narrative, it kind of lost me there.
Certain people who are asked into these things, whoever's doing the asking in the selection process, I find that they would not select somebody like me, that there's a track record of me putting my opinion out there, undiluted, uncontrolled, unbiased. I don't answer to anybody. Nobody's manipulating my opinion. I think that anyone that would be suitable for it would be somebody that may go along with certain things within reason, especially if those in control. I need to be careful what I'm saying here, Craig, because this is live and it's What I want to say is very, very damning, and I'm not going to be popular after I say it.
Okay.
But in a few months' time, you'll realise why I said it.
Yeah.
And I'm
So,
not interested in popularity. I'm interested in the truth.
yeah,
Uh,
and safeguarding kids.
yeah, and
So,
I don't think the best way to safeguard kids is to spend millions of pounds rehashing and regurgitating what we already know and respinning it and making it more palatable. I don't
Mhm.
think that's how you protect anybody. It's certainly not how you address survivors of institutional corruption and systemic failures.
What really?
I've got nothing good to say about any of it,
Yeah.
and that's why I won't be popular, and it's probably why certain people don't align with me or want me around their circles, because they'll maybe choose an easier path to get where they need to be. I'll
Mm.
choose the roughest path possible,
Mm.
which is usually makes you the least popular person in the room.
Aye.
But that's
What?
where the answers are, and that's where the truth is, in my experience.
Yeah. Well, what sort of caught my attention reading the girls' letters because they published their resignation letters was one of them was saying that there seemed to be a coercion away from talking about religion and race, as if we're not going to touch that, as if what they've already decided, which is the fear with these things, that they've already decided the outcome, so they just mould the thing till it gets to that outcome, is
Yeah.
that there's no demographic, um, unusual demographic data from all this. And I thought, well, that's kind of goes against what we see now. Nobody's saying that this is there's no white guys do these things. You know that. You told me this loads of times. When you look at the per capita numbers, it's kind of weird, right? Particularly in confined areas like Rochdale and stuff like that. And it appears to me, and I'll find out hopefully more tomorrow, because I'm hoping to speak to one of the girls tomorrow, is that it seems that they're driven um, or trying to drive the narrative away from race and religion and kind of pretend that that had nothing to do with it. And one of the girls' letters was pretty damning, where she said, that's Tony just totally almost silences again. We've been silenced all this time. We see this thing that might, give us a voice, and it's as if, no, shut up and don't talk about it again. And that to me was a bit really, really, really uncomfortable.
Why would anyone think it was going to be anything other than that, Craig? Because that's all it's
Well,
ever going to be.
yeah. I mean, unfortunately, you and I are long enough in the tooth to understand that when these things are created, they are always driven. And the people that start them, they often have decided what outcome they want. And that's not the way it should be. It should, you should just follow the evidence wherever it takes you. If it's unpleasant, it's unpleasant. If it's not what you expected, it's not what you expected.
They
But I
can't.
suppose,
They can't follow the evidence, because to do that, they would have to identify the spectrum of criminality by ethnic
Mhm,
group.
mhm, mhm.
They can't do that. That's the race card being played, and that's what they've avoided for 30 years. They're not
Yeah,
going to do that under any circumstances. So
yeah,
therefore, it's completely and utterly flawed. It's fatally flawed before
yeah,
it's even begun, because
mhm,
unless you identify the crime, every part of the spectrum of criminality by ethnicity, from top to bottom, only then you know the absolute facts. If you don't do that and you're not prepared to do it, then your outcome will be completely skewed, and it will be a misrepresentation of the truth, and it
mhm.
will be completely and utterly bloodlines, and nobody will understand it. It will just be some facts and figures rehashed, put together in a way that it's accepted by the public because it's the outcome of a national inquiry. So the public will consume it as fact.
Yeah, yeah,
But in 5 or 10 years' time, there will be another multi-million-pound internal investigation to come up with the same outcome yet again.
Yeah.
This is all part of the money laundering that they do with external audits and historic investigations into their failings. They come up with the same answers that they already knew. They just use a different think tank to rehash and regurgitate those facts, stick a few million quid into the coffers of consultants and other professional entities, and then they finish with a punchline of lessons will be learned.
Yeah.
And then they rinse and repeat. And in 5 or 6 years' time, maybe 10 years' time, we'll find ourselves back here again. All the major operations that were run around the 2000s, of which there are many, I could name most of them. There's been further investigations conducted on those operations, which gave them the same answers that they already had, but they'd done it to satisfy the public. So this is the problem.
Aye. Do you know, there was another story about in the last couple of days, and this connected to it, and this is the Sadiq Khan stuff, where there's people suggesting that he's covered up, ignored suggestions about grooming gangs and the levels of it in London. And I came into Shoney's space earlier on the day for about half an hour, and when I came in, somebody said to me, "What do you think?" "Oh, great in it. Sadiq will maybe get sacked because of this." And I was like, "No, I won't." I just can't see it playing out that way. And the reason being, the minute one gets it, then the floodgates kind of need to open. And they're a protected species, these people in the positions of power. So although I believe that it would be the right thing to do, you've got different levels of involvement here. You've got people who are, right amongst it with children, hundreds of thousands of them, right? And that's the most disgusting part of it. But and I don't think that far below it, you've got people who allowed it to happen by ignoring it and, fudging figures and turning blind eyes. And although they're not as guilty, because nothing can be as equal to, the crimes that these people are committing. But in my eyes, it's no far behind it. And that is people in positions of power, whether that be police forces and councils or even at government and things like that. And I just, you can maybe try and put numbers on it, Alex, but I couldn't imagine it if we'd done the right thing with this whole horrible thing, that there would probably be hundreds, if not thousands of people that would be complicit in allowing this nonsense to go on for decades.
There's 2 points to note there, Craig. Khan doesn't have to admit the existence of organised, orchestrated gangs in London. The reason he doesn't have to admit it is because no one's going to force him to. He answers to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, he's playing the fiddle to the very audience that he would have to highlight.
Mm-hmm.
The audience that want him into power are the audience that he would need to incriminate.
Mm-hmm.
So he won't do it for that reason as well. That's the 2 main points. No one's ever going to force his hand on this. The level of training they get to deflect questions. You'll notice that Starmer's never answered a question in all the time he's been in power. So they've got training on deflection, and no one ever calls them out on it. And it doesn't matter if he does an interview right there on the couch and says 100 things on a manifesto, and then right on that side of the couch, he completely lies and reneges on every single one of them. There will be no comeback, because every single time they get into power, they lie and then they abscond from that duty.
Mm-hmm.
And every promise they make, they break, but nobody ever calls them out. It won't happen. It's not going to start happening now. So any formal forensic investigation that's happening on historic abuse is sadly never going to give you the answers, because it's the very people that are playing those fiddles that are conducting the inquiries. The only way an inquiry will work is as if it has an external body of people taken from many, many backgrounds, people with flaws and imperfections, people like myself that will go in there with a diligence that they've never seen before, and that can't be bought, that can't be duped, that can't be coerced to give an answer that is, you know, unfathomable or cannot be verified in any way. No one can put words in my mouth. No one can show me something and say, this is what you have to tell the public without my scrutiny. So we will never get an opportunity to be part of anything because they know that we will put our necks in the block. We know that we'll stand on the side of truth. They know that we are reckless with our own safety and our own well-being. They know that we don't care about reprisal and backlash. So we can't be conditioned to give the answers that they want, which is the answers that are going to go into the public domain at the end of these two processes. They will be the wrong answers. I'll know immediately that it's what it is. I'll know if it's the truth. I'll know if it's fake. I know it's going to be fake. I know it's going to be lies, and it's going to be catastrophic for all the people that are survivors of decades of grooming gang abuse, and they literally already know that it's coming, and that's why these young women that were involved in this have removed themselves from it, because fundamentally, deep down, they know that the lies are already been spun, the web of deceit has already been spun, and it's just rinse and repeat, and it's absolutely tragic, but it's nothing that we didn't know was going to happen already. I just
Yeah.
the only thing I'll try and salvage from it is on the Rupert Lowe side is one or two people's reputations. Not because I know them personally, I really don't. I've had a very small amount of engagement with them. But if those people are hung out to dry, I'll go to war with the people that funded this and the people that orchestrated it.
Yeah, no, fair play. Now, I'm trying to. There's two or three things I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk to Sean about his channel and how that's going. I wanted to talk to you about what happened over the weekend with you, because I seen on Sunday you were just on it with social media, and I missed quite an important day up in Aberdeen past Saturday, which was the first day of my holiday. And Stevie's there, so Stevie and Alex were both up in Aberdeen. Just want to tell us a bit about what it was all about, and I heard there was a mad figure, like 80,000 people watching it on a live stream. And I don't know who's like. I know Martin had come up to England to cover it in a live stream, but that was a tremendous viewing figure. So, you first, maybe Stephen. How did the event go? And maybe explain to those that don't know what was happening up in Aberdeen and why you had a protest there in the first place.
Aye, no problem. Welcome back. Hi, everybody else. It was a good day. I mean, we decided to have an anti-SNP rally purely because they decided to host our annual conference in Aberdeen, and you don't get a chance like that on your doorstep with Swinney, Flynn, Sturgeon, Humza, all in one place. So, and they heard every word. We made sure the PA system was loud enough, so they heard every word inside that building. It was good. I mean, the people on the ground, the turnout wasn't what we expected. That size, but you're right enough. I mean, Martin had, I think he was 67,000 viewers on YouTube for the event, and if you added up all the TikToks and the other YouTubes that were there, it was over 100,000 viewers. So we've got to take that as it's a win. So
yeah. And did I hear right that John Swinney was at a window at one point watching these?
Yeah.
No. It was Stephen Flynn.
Oh, was
John
it?
Swinney was
I don't
maybe
know
there as
what.
well. I never caught him, but
Look what I've got, Steve.
Swinney definitely came to the window.
That's brilliant. It'd be even better if it was an all. I had a few cigars thinking about Stevie on holiday, and I brought a few home. Look, they're square cigars. And I thought that was a bit weird. So when I was in buying Alex's mug, I thought I would buy myself some cigars. So that's probably about a year's supply to me. So next time I see you, Stevie, I'll give a few of them.
Swinney came to the window while Stephen was speaking, and Stephen would have missed that. Swinney came to the window for a photo opportunity, and he took some photographs, and they blocked out the crowd in the background, and it was only a small crowd, but I think the point was made that it doesn't matter how many of us turn up. The few of us that will always turn up will always stand, and regardless of the numbers.
No, that was brilliant. That gave me a chuckle. I managed to watch a bit of it when I was in my own balcony, but we were going down the other side of the resort while it was on, and the Wi-Fi was shite. But I did see some of the stuff before it, and then Alex was kind enough to send me a couple of videos once it was finished. So who was all speaking at it, and how did Big Kev do, making his debut?
Kev changed.
Kev's changed. I sent him a link, but he's obviously too big for that.
he was posing for selfies.
No way! Is he getting selfies? Oh,
He's got his own one on tonight. Kev's 10-minute rants. He's on Kev's 10-minute rants.
Brilliant. So what's next, Stevie? For the North East been pretty hard at it since we had the Aberdeen hotel ones. They were in their infancy when you started doing what you were doing up in Peterhead, and then you've been doing your flags. It's been just pestering the life out of the hotels, 2 and 3 a week. So what's the plans for the North East going forward?
Well, we're actually going away in our own direction for a while. We're going to start doing towns around Scotland that's never really had anything like this before. We're going to do the North East, Aberdeenshire, and we're going to try and drum up more support. Let people in these towns know that there is groups like us that support them, we'll share them. So if we can go and encourage more people to join, come out in the streets, support us, travel maybe from their own town to like to Aberdeen or to Peterhead and to join in bigger ones. And we're going to start doing that. I know there's a hotel in Elgin that's been left in peace, so that one will be a good one to go for. Obviously, we've started the plans for next year for Peterhead's rallies, but it's still very early yet. We're obviously got to do a pre-election rally on the 25th of April, I think it is. I think it's like 2 weeks before the election. Just to try and encourage people to get off their arses, off their seats, go and vote. To encourage a complete Labour and SNP wipeout.
Good.
Might not work, but it's worth a try.
If you don't try, it'll definitely not work, Stephen. So you've got to try. So what was that like for you up in Aberdeen, Alex? What was your sort of takeaways from the protest?
Well, as you know, Craig, I'm not. I mean, people think I'm politically motivated and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not actually that interested in political parties as such. I went up there because I owed Stevie one, and I felt, I feel strongly enough about the efforts he's making. So I wanted to support him whether I was speaking or not. It's only right that if they travel to support us, we travel to support them and vice versa. So I think there was a lot of good messages. You know, it's people that want the best for the country. Their heads and their hearts are in the right place. It's a shame that the support wasn't better, but that happens because protests are kind of getting done to death, and they appear to be quite fruitless at times. For me, for the rest of the year, I'm unavailable for anything like that. I'm going to be concentrating on going back to the bread and butter, doing my lives, doing my research, bringing people onto my channel to be heard. There's so many people out there that need to be heard, and their stories, due to age and other, reasons, it's really important that I get to these people sooner rather than later. I want to do some stuff with you. We need to get mobile as well. We need to get out there because there's a lot going on. And I feel that, I mean, the English lads get they get huge followings down south, the guys and the gals down south, and that's understandable. And, there's big audiences down there. And I sometimes feel that our own efforts get a little bit glossed over at times. And not our efforts, not us as individuals, our predicaments, what we've got going on up here. I sometimes feel that it pales into a little bit of insignificance. What is that noise?
I don't know, something banging going on in the background, guys. I've muted Shawnee, so it might be Shawnee's. It's definitely Shawnee's. Right, Shawnee's muted himself. Alex, that must have been something banging in the background there.
I think that the problems that we've got going on in Scotland, they kind of pale into insignificance in regards to the English issues, and our audience lacks. I don't think the engagement's lesser through us as individuals. Maybe, we're not all disinteresting people. Some ways, we're charismatic. We're quite interesting. Some of us, you, for instance, produce good edited content. I'm not very good at that stuff, so that's where I lack. So maybe that's why I don't get the numbers that maybe I could get if I was better at that stuff. But I think that our audience is kind of, in Scotland, we've got a much smaller pool of people to appeal to, and so we need to up our game. So we need to get mobile. We have to get out there and get to the coal face and keep it interesting and refresh it regularly. And if we spend too much time protesting about the same stuff, waving the same banners, it eventually falls in deaf ears and it becomes fruitless, and it becomes a bit of a waste of your efforts, because people won't just turn up every week to hear the same stuff. They may support you remotely and distantly and online, but they won't turn up. And I tend to see that's what's happening. I saw that firsthand 5 years ago at George Square. After a period of time, the public just stopped engaging. It was the same old stuff every other week, and it just collapsed. At one point it had huge momentum, and then it just fell apart. And that's what happens, because people very quickly heal and they move on and they become interested in the next topic or subject. So we need to follow those trends down south and keep it relevant. And I mean, use Falkirk as an example. There's a few people here and there turning up. The momentum, it's almost like boom and bust. And then it just falls away, and it'll just be forgotten. It'll very quickly become super quiet and just become nothing. And that's what happens. So no, don't take it personally. If you've got a charitable cause and it's a really horrific thing that occurred, and everybody jumps on it and they all support it, but within a few months, other causes have came up at the back of it, and people go to them, and you know, it just loses its significance over a quick period of time, because human beings become so quickly accustomed to the next thing that they get on that, and you just lose your audience. So I think we need to get our heads together and really, really ramp it up, because we're already, and don't anybody, I know none of you will take this personally, we're already getting stale at what we're doing. And it's very, very easy to become stale. And if you don't, like Craig, if you don't post for a week, or you're busy for a few days, your viewings and your revenues fall off a cliff. Boom.
Yep.
Just like that, because you're dropped out of the algorithm. The algorithm is the people's minds. You get dropped out of their heads as well. 1 minute you've got your 15 minutes, and you're trending, and everybody's following you, and they're engaging with you. But next week it's somebody else's turn. So I think as a collective in Scotland, we're getting to the point now where we're kind of teetering on the brink of insignificance almost. We need to ramp it up.
There's so much people have got to moan about the now. There's so much that people are unhappy about the now. And each person's thing becomes really that important to them. And I think sometimes if you were to have like a protest at a hotel and somebody wants to talk about digital ID, although that is very, very important, it's a bit daft. You're like, and what? And that'll turn people off, because if you find somebody that their thing was, say, COVID, right, and they go to their thing expecting it to be a COVID rally, and they get there and it's about digital ID, or both are quite commonly linked, they go, well, that's not what I'm here for. So I think it's about keeping each thing about a specific thing, but maybe changing it up a bit. And for somebody that really the immigration's the real big thing, then you do an immigration thing and maybe get them there. But the other thing, it's like, well, it's try to just keep your finger on the pulse with it all. And I think we need to be, when there's something at a hotel, and that's why I think Falkirk was really successful really quickly, because there was 3 cases of abuse at the exact same thing, at the exact same from the same hotel over a short period of time. So that was like, right, well, let's just get to the hotel and let's just talk about immigration, because that kind of made sense. But when you try to involve other things in, when the theme's something else, I think we can get caught with that. We need to just keep it specifically. Stephen's last Saturday, it was, we don't like the SNP. Great, we'll have a protest at the SNP conference. That makes perfect sense to me. But I think a big problem we've got in Scotland, and Shawnee will maybe be better to ask this, in Scotland we've got pockets of society who want Scottish independence. So they don't tend to lend themselves to what we're doing out in the street. Because although they might not all be big fans of SNP, that's the thing that might give them what they desire, and that is Scottish independence. So they're not going to turn up at Aberdeen and shout abuse at the SNP, although they might not think they're doing a great job, because they kind of need them. So we've already got that in Scotland, but we've got something that's quite divisive before you even start considering going to a protest. And if you're in the groovy gang that want independence, you tend to tick the boxes. Well, that's, pro-Palestine, we love the refugees, with all this stuff. So we can't go to the protests over there. So your audience is almost half before you actually put a date in the calendar. Are you aware of that, Shawnee, about how divisive this whole Scottish independence thing is up here as somebody that's down south?
No, no. Obviously, all the Scottish politics up your way. You're going to be obviously more privy to than what I am, mate. But obviously, I'm
down your way, it doesn't really matter. There are people that are English separatists, there are people that are English nationalists, but they're very, very few and far between, considering, what we get demographic-wise up here. But that's kept, by the way, I tell you, but he's changed. Look, he's sitting, putting comments in. He's changed too much. So see over the last week or two, Shawnee, when I've been out in action, I take it Epping's just been smashing it, and I saw there was a Pink Ladies. They went into the city. There was something else that I was wanting to talk to Kevin about, because he was at Perth or something peculiar happened. If you're there, Kevin, you're listening, I sent you a link on your WhatsApp. Come in and maybe tell us about what happened with the Pink Ladies up and done Perth, I beg your pardon, it was Perth, while I was on holiday, where they basically stopped a protest. You know, that's dispersion laws that they've got. But, I mean, what is happening down south is, I seem to have lost it. Oh, what's going on here? It's blocked me. I seem to have frozen. Epping still leading the way. Is there anything else that's happening down south that we could share with us?
Southampton. I was speaking to Danny Tomo. I was speaking to him on voice notes yesterday and today. He wants to organise a live stream to talk about getting some people together for a protest up in Southampton, because obviously there was a video that was going around, and obviously when the Muslim Defence League turned up and they started and they got involved in a protest, and they started you know what I mean, like coming and verbally attacking, you know, all the protesters there, you know, women, all the men there, and that for no reason whatsoever, and they were just doing a peaceful march and stuff, and nothing got done about it. And he wants to organise a protest in Southampton, and he sent me the flyer on WhatsApp just a minute ago. And it says, Southampton Patriots, we will not be intimidated. And it's on Sunday the 26th of this month at 1 p.m. and it's being held at Highfield House Hotel, Southampton. And it says, after last week's march, we come together as one to show these UK haters we will not be intimidated by anyone in our city or our country. The muster is obviously at 1 p.m. for a 1:30 p.m. march from the Cowards pub just off the avenue. The march will take us from the Cowards pub via the avenue, Lodge Road and Portswood High Street, ending at Highfield House Hotel. And it's also said that there's parking available at Cemetery Road, or alternatively meet us at the Highfield House Hotel for 2 p.m. And yeah, it's basically they came in and they were just being very hostile towards everyone, being very intimidating, trying to come across as all very intimidating to all the protesters there and that. And I just think it was a bit of a shit show, if I'm honest. I don't like the old building do nothing whatsoever. You know, they never do. They only ever get themselves involved when it's to do with you know what I mean, to do with the right wing, like all that sort of that. So it's
I seen a bit of footage of that, a couple of videos of that. I was watching this afternoon. It got a bit tasty down there. There was a couple of it was on Defence League. They were getting right into people's faces, and I was surprised it didn't come to blows, to be perfectly honest with you, because it looked as if something that was certainly their intention. So, what were the counter protesting against?
I've only seen the snip. I'm not too caught up on all of it, mate. I've been working, but he was just speaking to me saying, "Oh, Sean, have you seen it?" I was like, "No, I haven't really. I've seen literally a little clip." And apparently Tommy had shared it or something. He said, "Oh, you can go and find it on Tommy's X or something." And basically, long story is that the Muslim Defence League turned up, interfered with the protest, and was getting very hostile towards all the protesters and that there.
I was going to bring Kev up to tell us about Perth, but he's needing 50 pence for his meter. Have you not got any lights in that house, Kev?
What you talking about? That's cracking lighting.
Is it?
Aye, man.
Kev's changed.
He's has changed, hasn't he, Shawnee? But he's obviously, this is the first time. This is a debut for their good audience in Grey Couston Talks Day, because Kevin's shown his face. He's decided
Well,
that they're
I
committed
don't-
now.
Well, wait a minute here. I mean, you outed me up at Peter, up at Aberdeen, because I had to go up and speak on your behalf because you decided to go on holiday.
Right. I'm awful sorry about it. But,
That's all right.
so that's you. And then, we've already sort of done the Aberdeen thing previously. I don't know if you were listening to the second. By the way, just so folk know, I did send Kev a link to this on WhatsApp about 7 o'clock, but I sent it to his old number. So that's why he wasn't in earlier. So for those for Kev's fan club, I do apologise. It was my. I hear you were giving selfies out in Aberdeen, no, Kev?
Oh, no,
You didn't
but
tell me
not.
about that.
I
You
wasn't
kept that
giving
quiet.
any selfies out, right? So we're not starting this carry on the night, right?
I think Alex and Stephen might be able to throw some light on this, Kevin. Because
No,
was it giving selfies out, guys?
there you go. Silence. That tells you.
No, that's thumbs up for Stevie.
There was a queue.
Was he charging, Alex?
So I heard, but I never seen any cash changing hands. I seen a sign. I seen a sign that he accepted Bitcoin and other cryptos.
Did they have one of the machines just tap it there? That will take a fiver out your card.
Aye.
I'm going to see my printer, pal. I need to get in and see him. Been meaning to get in and see him for a couple of weeks. Some stuff I need off him. But what I was thinking I'll get is, remember, you know, the wee cards you got with your photograph? Used to have like Glenn Michael's Cavalcade, and then they had a wee white bit at the bottom for your autograph. I was thinking about getting a wee load of them, Denzel. What do you think?
Is that for yourself?
No, for you.
I don't need them, big man. I've not got the same audience as you guys have.
I'm
sitting up
yesterday's
here
news.
in a panel of celebrities.
Aye, celebrity squares without the celebrities.
Do you know what I mean? We've got Shawnee Boy, who's making inroads down south there, is the biggest podcaster in the UK. You've got Stephen Rennie, is known as the biggest protest organiser in the UK. I mean, I can't slag Alec, because let's get it right, he does, but his job's a lot more serious. And then obviously you, who's changed.
I've changed.
He'll be around your house in 5 minutes, mate. Say the wrong thing.
Right, so Kev, right, we've done Aberdeen, right? You weren't here, you missed it. You were late to the show, and it's my fault, so I do apologise. But you went up to Perth on Sunday?
Saturday.
And you told me the story. What happened? Tell the audience, please.
So I went up to Perth on Saturday. I left here kind of mid-morning to get up there for 11 o'clock. And when I got there, the Pink Ladies, they were at the War Memorial getting ready to march. And when I just arrived, the Chief Constable was reading out a statement that they were imposing a Section 12 on them to prevent them from marching. So they were told that they weren't allowed to march. If any of them did that, they were going to get lifted. So the organiser of the event, because obviously there was a few angry people because of that, they piped up and said that, well, what we'll do is we'll just stick to the footpath. So they made it look like they were just going for a stroll, just a big group of them. So that they stuck to the footpaths. Every time they got to a traffic light, they would stop and wait for them allowed them to cross and things like that. So there's a few angry people, but they just took a march through the streets of Perth. I'm still more a fan of static protests, if I'm being honest. I think you can do a lot more damage with static protests if you can get proper speakers to come up and speak as well. I mean, obviously up at Aberdeen, as you've already talked, I mean, there was a lot of good people took to the stage that day, and obviously Alec made the effort to go up there as well and speak on behalf of what he does as well. So I'm a good fan of the static protests, but it just goes to show you that they're prepared to put a Section 12 on a group of people. I mean, there couldn't be any more, about 100 of them. Yeah, we're watching our main city centres getting shut down week in, week out. Glasgow Central, Edinburgh Waverley shut down as well. And yet they're not prepared to put Section 12s or dispersal orders on them people.
So and you met my wee pal Donna when you were up there.
I met a few of your fans up there, Craig. Aye.
Did you?
Aye,
think
they're all hugely daft, but they were about 70.
70-year-old. Aye. That's about my average audience age. I think it's 67 or something. But Donna, I think she's a big pal of Alex as well. She got a bit of infamy in the first of the protests up in Perth, where the Daily Record ran a story with a photograph of her, and it was talking about all these coked up far right thugs and racists. And she, to be fair, I can't remember how her and I got talking, but we got in contact with each other, and she was like, I'm going to speak to the paper, I'm not having this, and I want my right to reply and all that. And I was like, good on you. And I'm thinking to myself, but it'll never happen. But she did. And she got them to come up and do another article, which was a bit more positive. But to be fair, it was probably balanced rather than positive. But certainly the original article wasn't balanced at all. It was very against the protest.
Aye, and she spoke to her. She was telling me, Donna was telling me what the newspaper article were saying about her, and I was like, wow. I mean, I put a poster about a wee video about them as they just kind of set off. And honestly, some of the comments the people just goes to show you how far this country's fallen. I mean, these are just women that were just taken to the streets because they've got their fear for their own safety, they're fearful for their children's safety, their grandchildren's safety. And some of the comments were just horrendous. I mean, I was like, wow. I mean, if that's what if you feel you've got to comment in such a fashion on a group of women, you really need to go and have a good, long, hard look at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah.
Aye. So, Shawnee, we were talking before the rest of the lads came on about you and your channel, and you started off with an interview with your dad, who's a counsellor, and he had a decent story because he was a reformed counsellor and they were a bit arsey with him. And then, so you had Ben Habib. What was the other one? What's the one I'm forgetting? You had somebody else really famous, did you know?
Paul, what? You know about Paul Golding?
Oh, aye, you had Paul Golden. That's when I was away. How did that go?
Yeah, it was right. I went down there after I finished work. I drove down to his house after I finished work. I think it was on Thursday. And yeah, I didn't realise how long it went on for, to be honest with you. Yeah, I went down there because it was like my first sit down one with someone. I thought, do you know what? I need ChatGPT or something. I was like, give me some sections, break it so I can and add it between a little notepad in my lap, and then I just I didn't even bother looking at it. I just sort of I just got stuck into it. I just started talking, and I just thought, oh sweet, I just went with the flow, and then I pressed him on remigration because I wanted to know where he drew the line with that. With the remigration part, because obviously, I know a lot of people say to me, "Oh, Sean, I don't see, I don't know why you're interviewing him and stuff like that." But I basically more or less just said, although I don't agree with all of his views, do you know what I mean? As long as it's a respectful, conversation between two men, regardless of what his views are, you need to interview people that others aren't usually comfortable with, because
Yep.
Because otherwise you're never going to learn how they think and how they tick, what makes them, you know, think like that. What makes them have them views? Do you know what I mean? So when I you know, I got to the part with the remigration, when I pressed him on that, and I basically just sort of more or less said, you know, I said, obviously I'm the son of a migrant, of a legal migrant. Obviously, I said, you know, my dad's came over from India when he was a baby in the 60s with my nan. My dad and my nan, you know, my dad's side, they're what you class as Anglo-Indian. Basically, I more or less said, you know, where'd you draw the line with it? You know, he said, well, you know, he basically more or less said, you know, he gets rid of the bad apples, you know, like extremists, and obviously, and within regards to legal migrants, he'd only get rid of the ones that go out committing crimes in the UK. Do you know what I mean? So people that, even if they've migrated illegally, if they're out committing crimes, then he said, right, they're gone, etc., etc. But the one thing I didn't agree. Obviously, do you know what I mean? Like, is legal. I think he said more. He said if obviously with legal migration as well. Say, like, for instance, you know, your nan and your dad, they came here in the 60s, and I was like, fully integrated into British way of life. Do you know what I mean? My nan's Roman Catholic. My dad's, do you know what I mean, just working class, and my dad's worked buses all his life. He's done the London buses, still the buses now, but obviously up in Northumberland where he does his local politics with being a reform councillor up there where he lives now. Obviously, he said, obviously they're fine. Your nan and your dad be fine. You know, they're in the 60s, whatever. They've worked hard. They've put into system, blah blah. You know, nothing wrong with that. But then what I didn't understand is the fact that he then said, obviously, legal migration. Legal migrants, if they've been here, say, like, only 3 years, and the past couple of years, they'd be gone as well. And he didn't specify even if they did nothing wrong or not. So I thought, I didn't agree with that. Do you know what I mean? Because if they're lovely people and they're integrating in and they're not causing no dramas or imposing, do you know what I mean? And they actually are assimilating and making a conscious effort to do you know what I mean? But
yeah, I think what happens.
Look. Let me just clear this up now quickly. Obviously, I think, you know, like I said, I did say that I'm the perfect example of, like, you know, legal migration can work. I'm completely against illegal immigration. I think they should be shipped off straight away. Do you know what I mean? They shouldn't even be allowed. They shouldn't even get, you know, into our waters. Do you know what I mean? We should have you know, I think the Royal Navy should be put in place as a deterrent. But I said, you know, do I think we should, at this precise moment in time, do I think we should take more legal migrants into the country? And I said, obviously, 100% no, not at the moment, because we ain't got a grip. We haven't got a grip of illegal immigration as it is, and we're bursting at the seams. Do you know what I mean? So I would place a hold on that. I wouldn't allow anyone else more in until they've got a grip of the problem, and that's why. And they start with that by, do you know what I mean? Mass deporting all these illegals, not even putting them up in hotels.
Yeah, I think the majority of people, the vast majority of people, believe that migration is too high. So the only thing and then you're on a sliding scale of what's too high. And some people think legal migration should be at least break even would make a good start, and illegal migration should be zero. And some people think there should be no legal migration at all. And the problem I've got with that is it's just because they don't like certain people who are coming into the country, and I totally understand that. But if you say we're going to have no immigration, sorry, what would happen if Elon Musk said, you know what, Grangemouth is no longer used as a refinery. I want to use that place to build a factory for my new Tesla car that's coming out next year. And I want to come to Scotland to live in a castle while it's been built. Well, we would need to say to him, no, you're not coming. If some people will have no migration. So I think having zero immigration is probably wrong, but you need to have a very, very much better system and process than we've got just now. The illegal migration should just not be a thing at all. That's a ridiculous notion.
Agreed.
There'll be somebody to come in that's breaking the law. But where do we get a bit tasty is with the remigration. And that's where we start tipping into what I would even accept as far right, where, everybody's far right in some people's eyes, but what I would say generally is we've got to round up everybody that was born here, and some go back to, even if their parents are born here, then you've got to, go. I kind of think that's maybe a bit much. But people who are here, currently already in the country, if they're here legally and are not breaking the laws, and they're, getting into society, they've got a job, they're creating a wealth, they're not living off. I don't see a process where it makes sense that migrants of any description can come in and take benefit of our social security system, for example. That makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, you see some of the demographics. I saw a report just last week while I was on holiday, and it was Somalians. And there's something, 82% of Somalians do not work in a full-time occupation, and only about 10% work in any sort of part-time contribution to society. So the vast majority of Somalians that come here are not working. So if they come here, they claim asylum, they get accepted, and they become refugees, then the whole system's only going one way. And that doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. If you are an asylum seeker and you're given asylum, then you should be able to go and at least put into the public purse. It can't be 80-90% of certain demographics are coming and just not working. That's just bonkers to me. And I think that's bollocks when we keep getting told, we've got skill shortages though, so we need to bring in, nurses, for example, care staff, hospitality staff. Well, I don't believe that either, because in Scotland, 20 to 25% of your young people will never contribute to the public purse, so they'll never ever work a day in their life. That beggars belief. We don't have a skill shortages problem. We've got a get up off your ass problem. And when you say, but we've no doctors.
Laziness.
Yeah, and when you say things like we've got no doctors, well, they've got two problems there. In England, there's a cap on the amount of people that can go to university and become doctors. There is an actual cap on it. And in Scotland, although we don't have a cap saying we can only have so many doctors, we have we call it free university in Scotland. But because it's free, which is no free, because somebody inevitably has to pay for it, they're restricted in the numbers of any university places. So we're creating a skill shortage because of the way that we educate people. That if you can't get into a university because there's restricted numbers in England for doctors, for example, or any university places in Scotland, then obviously you're going to have a skill shortage for that particular thing. So we need to actually have a right good grown-up adult discussion about this and say, well, why? And then you go, well, what we're doing is we're taking nurses for Africa. Well, what about the people in Africa that need a nurse? We're this welcoming, great world, everybody's a friend in the world. But we'll just empty Africa of its nursing staff. That's ridiculous. And then you see cases where there was a woman in Nigeria who you paid, I think it was equivalent to about 40 quid. And you have to do because all over the world, the nursing education is so varied all across the world. There's a test you need to do before you can come in to the UK as a nurse. so that we know, well, at least they're up to that level. It doesn't matter if they come from Albania, Africa, Timbuktu. There's a test here. You pass that, you can then come into the country. There was a woman in Nigeria who was charging folk to come into her office, and she done the test for you. And it only came to light when they looked into the IP address used to all these tests. So we brought in hundreds, if not thousands, of nurses from, I'm sure it was Nigeria, where it was one person that done the tests. So not only are we putting our people at risk by getting, medicated by people who are not qualified to do it, the ones that are medicated, we're taking them out of their own country and leaving them short of skilled staff. And the worst thing is, because the way the education system works, we're actually preventing our own kids from coming in and, becoming the next doctors, the next scientists, the next whatever. So the whole thing's all actually been geared for generations to get to this point where we actually need migrants. So it's not just an easy turn the tap off. We actually need to change our whole society before we got to that point, or we would have skill shortages if we'd done remigration, because there would be loads of people that are working jobs now that would be sent home. So that doesn't really make sense. We need probably at least one generation to line ourselves up where we can be self-sufficient for staff. I was trying to get Alex in there, and his camera wouldn't come up. I hope he's just disappeared to come back on. But I can't get this. There are some people, Sean, that believe that your dad should not be in this country. You know that as well as I do, and I think that's kind of my line isn't there. My line's a good bit south of that. That doesn't make sense to me. We've got massive problems with people. If we emptied UK with just the people that are here illegally, we'd have hundreds of space. Our NHS would not be busting at the seams. Our infrastructure would be fine. It'd be more than fine. It's not now. So even if we took the illegal ones and went, no, away you go, we stopped all that shit, the ECHR. And we've actually got laws in here that say if you come in as an asylum seeker, a refugee, and you break the law, we part you home, right? And then we don't send anybody home. That makes no sense either. So if we do the simple things first and say, right, illegals, ones that have broken the law, you're off, we're going to stick you in Ascension Islands until we sort out what we're going to do with you. You could then say to people, we've got a 6-month amnesty. And in 6 months' time, if they're here illegally, we're going to come and take you and put you in Ascension Islands till we sort out what we're going to do with you. I guarantee you, in 6 months' time, you wouldn't need to send many to Ascension Islands because half of them, if not more, had buggered off to wherever they should be in the first place. But we need adults and grown-ups to do this. And it's a long time since I've seen anybody in a position of power that I think. The only one that turns out, by the way, and at the time, I thought she was hopeless. But listening to Liz Truss recently and the things that she had to get through, even when she was the Prime Minister of your country, it's just pretty shit.
The thing is, though, Craig, I mean, you're talking about we need adults in the room, right? You just need to look at that Green Party right now. That's Zach Palensky. I mean, if you ever want to see what an absolute nut job looks like, that's one right there.
Aye.
I mean, you think Jeremy Corbyn and things like that are bad? This guy's on a whole different level. He is.
I don't understand how he gets put into the position that he's in, Kev.
Sorry, mate.
I don't understand how he even got put into the.
I don't know how he's
managed. I didn't even understand
the worrying thing about it is, Sean, they're actually getting people to support them. That's the thing.
But it's when Piers Morgan asked put that question to him, and he said, "Do you think women can have a penis?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was just like, and this is supposed to be the leader of a political party.
Who was that? Oh, that Greens guy.
That Zach Palensky, that lunatic, mate. He literally just, I just couldn't believe it when he got that question put to him by Piers, and he was just like, do you think women can have a penis? And he was like, yeah. Like, as if to say, what's wrong with that? Like, of course they can. And I was thinking, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? And I thought, this is a man that's like the leader of a political party.
Mhm.
I just think, like, how are you even, what are you even doing in politics? Like, these are the type of people that have contaminated politics with all the woke bullshit and all the backwards nonsense that we're seeing at such a high level today, and it needs to be stamped out like soon as, because I've already said it before, if any of this shit was getting implemented into the schools where my children were, I'd just pull them straight out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be having my kids taking any of that crap. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I wouldn't have it. I'd rather have my kids homeschool. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't allow that indoctrination to, poison my kids' brains.
Yeah. No, it's bonkers, mate. It's absolutely bonkers. It makes no sense. And the amount of stuff that we've got in this country, that when you look at it, you think, that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And Scotland's probably even worse, because we've got the SNP up here for 18 years. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, do you know what? See, for the day before I was coming back my holidays, I get right necked out. I thought, shit, I'm going back there now. That place called Scotland that they've managed to almost destroy in 18 years. And I thought, I need to cheer myself up. I thought, Christ, it could have been worse. Because in 2014, we had a referendum. And if that had went the other way, the SNP would have had total control in Scotland, and the amount of things that they try to get put through into law that Westminster stopped, they would have been able to implement. So in Scotland, we would have had a man can be a woman, and a woman can have a penis. And we would have had a thing that they try to put in called the Named Persons Act, where the actual legal guardian of every child born in Scotland would not be the parent, it would be the state. They'd actually try to make that a policy in Scotland, right? And you think, oh my God. And they've already been chanting Westminster's doors saying, we want more elite, we want more immigration, we want to control our own visas, which they would have done if we'd have failed, if the referendum had went the other way. And I started to think about all these things that could have happened if the SNP or if the Nationalists had won that referendum. And by God, it would have been 10 times worse than the shite show that it already is. And that actually made me feel a bit happier. I thought, well, it is bad. But if we didn't have that buffer zone of Westminster, which is a shit show as well, by the way, I'm not saying Westminster's great, Scotland would be even worse. It's proper potty up here. So if you ever feel shit about your life, Sean, and you're thinking England's a bit of a shit show, give me your phone, right? And I'll tell you how bad it is up here. Because it is. It's just worse, right? Because we've got two lots of numpties making stupid laws for us, right? We've got Westminster making, the big important ones. And then the SNP get to do what they want with the not so important ones that are devolved powers. And you just go, we've had two lots of crackpot. I mean, the Tories weren't even much better. So it's not as if we could say, it's only in the last year. I mean, the last year's got worse. But it wasn't perfect a year ago from it. And
yeah, like John's just said in the comments, John Reimer, there's too many laws that contradict and overlap each other. He's right. It's too much bureaucracy. They need to thin it out massively.
well, the thing is, see when they put bills through Parliament and they create a new law, a lot of the times there's existing laws that could actually do the thing, right? I'll give you a good example. Up here we had what was called the Offensive Behaviour at Football Law. That all became a law, right? I was working for Rangers Football Club at the time, and I was working in a community liaison role, and in match days I worked alongside the cops and the stewards and whatever. And I was talking to everyone at the same time. I said to the cops, is there anything that this bill can be arrested? So whatever, let's say you threw a bottle at a Celtic fan. You could get arrested for that yesterday. So why did we need this new law? And they said, there's not a single thing in this new legislation that you could not have been arrested for without this legislation, because we had current legislation to cover it. They just packaged it differently. But every time they bring out a new law, they never put an old one in the bin. So the book of law just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you'll get to a point at some point, if they don't stop the nonsense, where you're just not allowed to be able to do anything. because everything will be illegal. Because nothing gets taken away. So we'll have another law about something, but we never go, well, that replaces that law. It just adds on to it. And the whole thing just gets more and more controlling every single day.
Craig, can I ask you an honest question?
No.
Right, well, with your slag.
Ask what you want, Sean. Anything you want.
What I was going to say was, just for your honest opinion, right? What do you think? What do you think that the biggest threat is out of digital ID or illegal immigration?
I think they're both big threats.
They are big threats. I agree with you. But what do you think?
I think if you could only, if it was you could only get rid of one, I would say the illegal migration, because ID is terrible, right? It's a stupid thing, and they'll dress it up with some shitty buzzwords to, they've already tried to tell us that this will stop legal immigration, because they know the country's gone, we don't want illegals. So they say, oh, this digital ID will stop it, right? So dress it up whatever way. And I read a thing, Tony Blair tried to put this in a couple of decades ago, and the way they've sold it then was it was going to cure child safety. There's a lot of bollocks as well. So you've still got the same thing. It's just 20 years ago they told us child safety. So if you could only cure one of them, I would need to go with illegal migrants. I want both of them cured. And the reason I say that is very simple. The digital ID can take away some of your freedoms, but the illegal immigration can take away your life or your child's innocence. And it's got to
and on that front, I completely agree with you, because I think that I think illegal immigration is the main threat, to everyone's lives. Like exactly what you said there, is a threat against children's innocence, because obviously there's rape being committed, and they're also going around and they're killing people as well. So they're very angry, hostile men from God knows where, with an ideology of, who knows what. But at the same time, there's so many things within regards to digital ID that are already in the loop, that I personally think anyway, because look at, like, for instance, little things like your iPhone, and you've got like facial ID to get into, to unlock your phone. Oh, it's a really cool feature. You can use your face, biometrics of your face to unlock your iPhone day in, day out. You've at self checkouts in supermarkets, they've now got the big.
See on that, mate. Where I am, and let's just say I don't. Why can we not just call it RAPE? We can't call it that, Lex, because YouTube will take the channel down. So that's what everybody knows.
One more. Even with work, even with buildings, certain building sites that I work at. You have to go into when I get into work, you have to go through to a little hut, right? And then a little floodlight come on, and then I'll look into the screen, and then a big green box will go across, like a square box will go across my face. It'll scan my face, and then the big turnstile will buzz, and then I can get through the turnstile to site.
Where I am with this whole thing, Shawnee, is we've already got it. We've already got facial recognition. We've already got digital ID. We've already got all that stuff. Do you know all they're doing now? They're making it legal for them, because the way they're doing it now, I believe, is illegal. Because I believe that it's very easy. This thing here, right? It's got a receiver and a transponder. Is that what you call it? On it already, right? So it's dead easy. And I've got a camera and my laptop here, which I don't know if it's on or off. So everything can be done. There was something quite strange happened to me and a pal when we were going to Epping that I'm convinced was a bit weird. I'm not going to talk about it publicly. But the only problem you've got with legislation is now, you can't use, so if somebody was listening to me and I was talking about something illegal and they were using an illegal way of listening to me, they can't use that as evidence against you.
Yeah.
Because they've taken it illegally. But as soon as all these things are passed legislation, then it's like they can turn it on and actually use it, you know, and if to full intent. So I believe all these things are already here. And I remember one time, it was years ago, and somebody told me, it was when everybody was bringing out loyalty cards and Tesco club cards and all that nonsense. And I went, don't ever touch one of them in your life. I went, why? I went, well, it just lets them know everything about you. And I thought, my God.
What food you're buying regularly on a regular basis, like what food items you consistently get week in, week out.
Yeah.
It stores it all on your store cards. It lets them know. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and then if it goes down that road where it's, it's what everyone, is fearing of, where it gets to the point where they're like, sorry, you tap your store card and it goes, no, sorry, you've had too much red meat. You've had your quota for your red meat this week. You've had too much meat.
I only done 2 videos the whole time I was away on holiday, and one of them was, and I knew it would never get much action because of what I was talking about, but it's fucking life out of me. Somebody put a photograph of a sandwich on Twitter, and it had the carbon allowance on it. Right, your daily carbon allowance, and I thought, it's there already. So in this sandwich, you've got the calories and your sugar and your salt and all that bollocks. It was that size, and the carbon thing was that size. And I think the sandwich was something like 8.1% of your daily carbon allowance. Your carbon fucking allowance. When were we given a carbon allowance? What is your carbon allowance? Nobody knows what the figure is, but they've already got a mechanism in place that every bit of food can have it. So it doesn't take too much to go, well, we kind of know what you've bought. We know what we've bought every week. So the technology, everything is already there. And there was a strange interview I had one night with a woman. It was in the 20th anniversary of the London bombings. And this woman had actually been witness to 2 in one day, because she was on a train when the underground went, and she had to get, the place was full of smoke, and they eventually got her out, got her up a escape thing, and she was going to her work, Russell Square. And she was on the phone to a guy that she worked with. They'd phoned her. There was a big important meeting that they were having to go to. And he'd phoned her on a mobile. And she was practically walking around the corner. And she could see him standing outside the office on the phone to her. She was explaining, the shite she'd had to deal with so far that day. And the bus standing next to the guy exploded and killed the guy while she was on the phone to him, looking at him. So I got on, we'd done a podcast, we'd done a live, and we were playing away. So that was why we got her on. And I said, what is it you done? She went, well, we're starting, it was well before the Olympic Games, but they were doing all the stuff for the security. And it was all right. So we got talking about that. And I says, what was the sort of biggest thing that he's done? Why was it such high, high security levels? She said, well, all the athletes that were coming from all around the world, we kind of knew who they were before they came. So we could do all the security checks on them. We could know if there was any of them were going to be a threat to our public safety. The big risk, though, was the family that came with them, because we didn't really know who was going to turn up. So all around the Olympic Village, now the Olympic Games was 2012. These meetings were starting in 2005. Right? And what they put into that Olympic Village, the perimeter of it had facial recognition. And she said within seconds of you walking into that area, they would have everything they needed: your name, address, date of birth, passport number, bank account details, driving licence, everything. As quick as that. And this was 20 odd years ago. And I said, so see when the Olympic Games finished and we repurposed the Olympic Village, what did they do with all that technology? Is it still there? So see all that stuff about facial recognition and people getting really, there's Love Majowski, I've not spoke to her in a long time, and too long. I need to get onto one of her spaces. And so the stuff's already there. So it's just all that's happening now is it's a bit of sort of shadow boxing to get it in place that they can actually legally use it. Because don't think for a minute this stuff's not getting used. Of course it's getting used. But what happens is if they turn up at a court of law and say, we've caught this guy on this facial recognition camera, it's been gathered illegally, so it gets flung out of court. And that's all we're doing now, is we're just shadow boxing. There's LX saying the same.
Well,
Been in South Liverpool since 2019.
Yeah. Well, my dad was saying earlier, he was saying about, he come onto the space earlier today, and he basically just more or less said, you know, with in regards to the digital, people become solely reliant on data in all these big data centers and putting all their trust in having all their life stored in these huge data centers. All it takes is for an EMP to get dropped, and then literally all your data's cooked. So then what are you gonna do then? There's no backup, because you've put all your, like my old man said earlier, you're literally gonna put all of your data into one big basket, and literally once it gets burnt, it's burnt. There's no going back from it. It's literally destroyed. It's gone. So it's like I really understood where he was coming from with that one.
Yeah. What it said was, it will not be mandatory to have digital ID, right? But you'll just not be able to do anything without it. So when it's not mandatory, if they say, right, well, without your digital ID, you can't buy petrol, you can't buy food, you can't buy alcohol, you can't get on a bus, you can't get on a plane unless you've got digital ID on some sort of format.
Yeah, but Craig, it's control, mate.
So they don't actually need to make it mandatory. They just need to make everything that you actually need to do to survive.
Yeah, I don't like that level of control. I don't want to be
correct. But that's how they can package it. They can quite easily say that it's not mandatory. So you, Sean, you don't want digital ID, you don't need to get it, right? But then you go to your car, right? And your car key's in your phone, because that's where that's going. And you're blocked out because you don't have a digital ID, so you can't use your car. Or even if you can use your car, you get to the petrol station, you need to tap it. So you don't need one, Sean. Don't get one. It's not a problem. So what you're going to need to do is live in a cave, right? And see how I think about it. See all these dystopian movies. You know all these dystopian movies that you see. Sorry, mate.
Why does it have to get? Yeah, but it doesn't have to get that far with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, why that?
Because somebody somewhere.
Keys will always be keys. Like
So let's just make it when you go to buy your fuel for your car that you've got a normal key for. You need to tap your digital ID, or you can't draw petrol at a petrol pump. And the more I think about it, I go, do you know where we're going to end up? These dystopian movies that you see, you've got wee feral kids, and you've got these sort of undercover somewhere communities that just don't conform, but they've got fuck all. They don't need to hunt, and you need to barter with like the clothes in your bag, because you've got no access to any currency. And it actually frightens the life out of me that you go, these things that will just stop you having a normal life. And they can tell you all these things that'll be great, it'll stop child abuse. I don't know how they think that, it's going to do that. They also tell us that it's going to stop people, illegals, from working. Why? There's certain things you need to work in the UK just now, and they don't bother their arse with them, right? So why would give them you need to have all your shit on a smartphone, certainly stop the black economy, employment economy. They'll find a way around it. So it's just all bollocks to get you to actually accept it, or get enough people to accept it, is probably the best way to put it, because they'll never get everybody to accept it. And it's just a sales pitch. That's all it is. But I unfortunately don't think that you can stop it, because I believe it's already been decided, and the majority of stuff that they need in place to actually turn the switch, all these things are already there. We were all daft. We all went crazy for these things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all thought these were wonderful. We all thought chipped in was a great thing. We all thought having, self-service tills at Tesco was quite a good thing because it gets us to shopping quicker. We all thought, and listen, the easiest way to get digital off people is social media. That's the biggest con ever sold to man, and we've all jumped in. We're on it now. You know what I mean? We've all jumped into that with 2 feet, but for control purposes and collecting data, information, habits, all these things. It's already there. We're done. Somebody on the what's outside? Guy Fawkes is getting us thinking.
Right, I'm going to have to jump, mate.
All right, mate. Now listen, thanks for coming in, mate. It's enjoyable having you.
No, thanks for having me on, Craig. I'm going to get down now.
No worries, boss. I'll speak to you soon. I'll see you in your space, no doubt, tomorrow. So for those who don't know, just before Shawnee goes, get him on to his YouTube, I think. See if I take this down now, actually. Aye, see where he's got Shawnee Boy 89. That's his YouTube handle as well. So if you don't already follow him on YouTube, smash in. He's got quite a new channel, but he's doing some good things.
That's for me ex. That's my ex.
All right.
The YouTube is the Uncensored Patriots official.
Do you want to stick it in the comments before you go, boss?
Yeah.
Click it as a link.
Yeah, of course I can. Hang on.
There's something, Alex, don't know. This is something that annoyed me, right? I'd never been Charles Went in my life before up until May. When I was getting processed, you get in and you get the fingerprints and you get the photograph, and then they go, and we need to take a swab off you now. And they took my DNA. And I thought, that's a bit weird. I've never thought about that before. So now, the state have my DNA. Shawnee, take care, buddy. Thanks for coming on for so long.
Cheers, my brother. Take it easy, mate. I'll see you later.
All right, buddy. Take care. So they took a swab of my DNA, and I'm quite sure I will not be found guilty of the crime I've been alleged to have committed, because I didn't do it. However, they've already got my DNA. They should only have the DNA of criminals. And I'm not a criminal. But it's gone. It's done. And I bet you LX will know what my legal rights are. That if, as I'm sure I will be, he'll not be found guilty of a crime of getting my DNA taken back out of the system. Because that's it. And you know what I mean? And I'm quite a law-abiding citizen. So it's not, for any nefarious reasons. I just kind of think, why the hell should they? Why should they have my DNA when it's normally only criminals? And I'll not be alone. There'll be thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that haven't committed any crimes. But, oh God, fun starting now. Twitter must be quiet tonight if Basil's jumped on.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. You've heard something, haven't you, that's made you jump and go?
Yeah, I was going to ask you a question. I don't know if I've watched most of it, but I don't know if you spoke about the grooming gang inquiry today and the two women who dropped out.
Yeah, we have. We had.
My apologies then.
We've spoke about it, and I've spoke to one. There's a chance I'll be doing a podcast tomorrow with one of them. But aye, the story, Alex was talking about it maybe at the start, and it came up, and the bit that got me, Basil, was the thing. It was the first one that resigned in her letter. She said she felt that the religious, and I can't remember how she worded it, but that sort of stuff was getting pulled away from the whole inquiry. She thought, well, that's kind of the whole point of the inquiry. Is it not?
It was the religious and race element. So basically, what they've said is that the essentially the Labour Party are trying to cover up the fact that there was an Islamic element to the perpetrators, and that also there was a white girl thing to the victims, which is obviously because they want to make it. They said they want to broaden the scope of it into something far wider than what it is. I was just reading the letter of the second woman who quit. And she said that the two chairs they've picked, one's from the police and one's from the social services, which are obviously two, industries, authorities that have let these girls down in the first place. But they've also been told they're not allowed to scrutinise them. So the questions have been led already, what you can and can't ask. So yeah, when I saw it and I read through it, it's just blatant. They do not want to fight to show the world what's happened here. They want to cover it up, and then they're not even pretending anymore.
I'm not getting that girl on now. She's been offered gigs on national TV, so she's not doing the podcast. So there we go. Aye, it's just stinking, mate. It's absolutely stinking. I don't know what Alex is on about. I need to pay to join. Join what? Join the chat? I don't know. Let us know what you're talking about now. So, aye. So, where does it go for here, but Basil? What happens now?
Well, I think look, the biggest thing we need is obviously a new government, which could actually take this seriously. But that's not going to happen for a while in the whole of the UK. So the question is what can be done in the meantime? And I think that the biggest one is Rupert Law's inquiry, which is still going ahead. It's still going to give them a chance to expose what went on without any of these preconditions. So what you'll see, I think, and well, I hope to see, is that anybody who's not allowed to speak at the national inquiry or they play down what's gone on, you will also have another inquiry running alongside it that will be broadcast around the world where people can hear these shocking stories. I've spoken to a few of the people who were involved in the inquiry. They haven't given any details, but what they've said is it's even worse than what we thought it was. So it's like what you're going to find out is just, there's still, I don't know if anyone's read any of the transcripts from the court, some of the horrific things these monsters did to these girls, but you're going to find even more horrible things, unfortunately, coming out. But everyone needs to see it and everyone needs to hear it and they need to understand it, because if they don't, this problem will be covered up again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think we spoke to Alex a bit in depth about it at the start. I think the only person who will be shocked with the stuff to hear will probably be Alex. He's living it every day, unfortunately. Where are we going here? I'm losing that plot here. Oh, there's Freedom Dad. We heard from him for a while. He's one of the guys that's covered a lot of the protests and stuff over by. He does a lot of good stuff. Good to see you here, mate. Well, you're right. I've not heard from you for a while. So, since I've been away, and one of the reasons for doing this, yes.
So, sorry to interrupt you.
Right.
I'm obviously hyper focused tonight on people's resignation and stuff from this inquiry.
Yeah.
That's my primary focus over anything.
Yeah.
But there's some people with big accounts, and they're teasing and tempting and saying things like, "Yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do that," and I know stuff, and would you all like to hear it? And it's like a little bit of what do they call it? Engagement farming. Do you get me?
No, really.
Here's a minute.
You still there?
Is it maybe meaning that people are saying that they've got some kind of information on stuff and they're wanting people to kind of click in, like their posts, or kind of engage with them, so eventually they can get or see if they're going to tease that information out of them? Is that what Alex may be meaning?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Aye.
Yeah, you find it.
So there's people that are possibly in the know. They probably are in the know, and they have stuff that's really, really important, and it could bring down people like Jess Phillips, but they're on here teasing and saying, oh, I know this, and if I put it out there, you know, I'll bring the house down. Well, I'm calling them out as well.
I go and do it.
If you don't have the balls to put it out, inbox me with it, and I'll put it out right now.
Yeah.
I've messaged them, the people, and they've not responded to me. They've got big accounts, you know, in the hundreds of thousands. Maybe they won't respond to me. They don't need to. But if you've got information that can bring these people down and it's legit, but you're scared of the comeback, send me it and I'll put it out.
Alex, can I just say that?
I'm pissed off with them teasing people, right? Because for every day you sit on information that could change the outcome of something and you sit in it and do nothing with it, you're actually part of the problem, you know, in a roundabout way.
I see a lot of that. There's somebody that I'm not going to mention, right? Because I don't think he's a bad lad, right? He put out a claim saying this thing was happening and it was fucking horrific, and everybody was saying, it's the end of the world, that's terrible, they shouldn't do that. And he says, I'm going to put out more information next week with evidence that this thing was happening. Well, that was 3 weeks ago. And I've been on his timeline every day because the story was massive. You go, and you know, this week we're talking about something else. You go, I'm going to, you know, blow the cover on that, and you're just talking shite now. But people are still, you know, feeding themselves with this guy's great, this guy's wonderful. Is he? How's he wonderful? He said this. Now, he might say 100 things a year, and 10 of them become right, and people remember those 10 and go, this guy's great, he's got great info. No, he's not. He's shooting at the dark. He's throwing shite against the wall and seeing what will stick. And I ain't going to call him out because I think he's actually not a bad guy. But you're like, God, just stop talking. And it's like, it gives him a wee bit of fame for a few days. And then when that dies down, I'll throw out something else. But nobody's actually been like, hold on a minute, mate. 2 weeks ago you said, or 3 weeks ago it was now, you said that. And you said that you're going to, he made this big revelation and said, I've got the evidence to back up what I'm saying, and I'll put that out next week. Now, what the fuck's the point in putting it out next week? Next week, but next week I'm on about digital ID, and then the next week I'm on about immigration, and the next week I'm talking. You're like, just calm down, do you know what I mean? Right, that frustrates me. Sorry, Basil, I sort of cut you off. I think you were trying to...
No, I was just going to say, Alex, I agree. I've actually been in that position myself. Like, recently there was a thing in Basildon, I don't know if you saw it, and that, like, you know, someone who couldn't put something out and just said, can you put out instead? I said, sure. I tried the same thing though with what this you're talking about. I'll tell you in DM if you want, but there's a former Tory MP, you might know who I'm talking about, who went on the air and said, like, basically, I know all this stuff going on in Westminster, child abuse, but they'll come for me if they find out, if I tell you who it is. And I'm like, well, surely they're going to come for you if they know that you know before you release the information, not after. Because once you release it, it's in the book. It didn't make any sense, and it was clearly just trying to get attention for himself. And it was really disappointing that people play games like this when it comes to, you know, real situations, as you've just said. So yeah,
well,
I agree.
John Wedger's built a career out doing it. So
you what, sorry?
John Wedger's built a career out of talking shit.
Aye.
I mean, I suppose it's easy done. Do you know what I mean? If you just want to put teasers out all the time. But I just was like, I'm too long in the tooth for it. And half the time it's stuff that I don't care about, so I don't bother about it. I just go, there's that guy talking shite again. But there was one particular thing that really got my attention, and I thought, wow. But it's coming out next week. I'll put out the evidence next week. Well, I can't be dealing with that. But you know, it's just upsetting. But that again, that's a thing social media is created, that people can, you know, make a living out of talking shite. Do you know what I mean? I mean, don't make predictions. Just tell us the truth.
It's a crappy subject to exploit, though, isn't it?
100%, man. 100%.
I mean, if you're going to, as Alex said, if you've got information and it's genuine, it's fact checked, because at the end of the day, you guys have got to watch today that if somebody passes you information, you can't put something out there that isn't factual, because then you put yourselves in even further trouble. But if somebody's got actual information that's fact checked and you guys are prepared to stick it out there, I mean, why no? Get to use guys, because as Alex rightly pointed out, he's no fear to put this information out there. If you look at Alex Timeline, he's no fear to challenge the things that's going on in this country with that certain thing. Do you know what I mean?
By the way, just that's for Alex, that's for nobody else, right? I'm not shite part.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you watched Stephen Flynn's interview today on Sky News, where obviously he was put on the camera because he was calling out Andrew and calling out the government and the monarchy for stripping him all his titles, etc. Now, I agree with that.
I thought he was actually. I thought his titles were off him. I saw that story. Why are you standing in it?
Well, he's getting to keep his prince title, isn't he? Because he was given that, but he was born a prince, and he's getting to keep the property within Windsor Castle grounds. So he was on the telly today, banging on about this, saying it's disgusting. This guy's a probing nonsense, etc., etc., etc. But he fails to sit there and call out the Scottish government, the SNP, the party that he's a party of, for knocking down a grooming gang inquiry in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
And you think, well, wait,
see the amount of nuggets, right? This is the thing that does man nothing with the cult of nationalists up here. I'm talking about the proper barking mad ones, right? I was talking about this on Twitter the other day, and that never happened. What never happened? The SNP didn't vote against a grooming gang inquiry. They did. Well, I've already got one. Yeah, there's one in Westminster, but it doesn't take in Scotland. No. The Scottish police are having an inquiry. And I thought, I might have missed that. The Scottish police are not having an inquiry. The Scottish police are having an internal, non-independent audit to look at how Scottish police dealt with complaints going, back in time.
Do you know something?
It's nothing.
Somebody brought that up, and I was trying to remember what you said, because I could mind you putting that up there, and I couldn't. And I went trying to find it through your thread, because somebody was saying that the police are doing an investigation. I was like, no, they're not.
No, they said the Scottish police are doing one.
Posted that.
Scottish police are not doing it, and I didn't know it. I didn't know what they're talking about, so I had to go and check it out. And it was just.
Can I ask a question on that?
No.
Well, obviously, just for the whole panel to jump in, from an English perspective, I can understand, although I disagree with it, I think they're horrible, but I can wrap my head around why the Labour Party wouldn't want an inquiry, because a lot of their people are disgustingly involved in this stuff. But is that the case in Scotland with the SNP as well? Why do the SNP not want an inquiry?
Yeah, I think it's the same reasons that not a lot of people in positions of power want inquiries. And it's not just, it'll not maybe be them or the person sitting next to them, but it'll be people on the same side of the fence in a lot of things. That's why they don't want it. And the mental gymnastics you need to use to listen to the shite they come up with for not wanting one, as Alex spoke about it earlier, the chances of anything big, at any Lord or ex-MP going to jail is probably bugger all, right? Probably nothing will happen. But what it does do, it gets some, and it will never be all, but it will get some information into the public domain. And they'll pick and choose who gets flung under a bus, right? And that'll happen to them anyway.
A lot of the problem in regards to a Scottish inquiry is the existing Scottish abuse inquiry has been absolutely slaughtered because it's diabolically poorly conducted. And if you need me to give you one example of where, then I would use the Quarriers abuse scandal as an example of how you can horrifically handle survivors of institutional abuse. So that I won't go into the Quarriers too much, but Quarriers is the example I would use because it's a horrific case. where the former First Minister offered the 70-plus-year-old survivors, some of them I know personally, £18,000 to sign an NDA for their silence, never to discuss it again and go away quietly. I've seen the paperwork for that, for 60 years of, 60 plus years of carrying that through life. Men like Sandy Smith, horrific case. So where the stumbling block in Scotland is, and where people are misinterpreting is the denial of the requirement for an investigation into the existence of grooming gangs, because there are not enough people sitting in power just now who believe that in the existence of organised rape gangs in Scotland. So therefore, they cannot condone the funding of an abuse inquiry, because they don't believe the problem exists. Now, without a forensic investigation and the collection of data from survivors, you will never know about its existence. So unless you are prepared to go one way to get to the right information, you'll never ever be able to go the other way and capture the other side, because you can't do one without the other. So they're sitting on the fact saying, well, nobody's came forward about this, therefore there's no problem and there's no requirement for it. Well, that's to disregard all the years of my life and everything I've put into it and everything I've said online, which has been validated by in the high tens, if not in the hundreds of thousands of members of the public that have came forward and commented and inboxed me over the last 5, 6, 7 years and put their statements into inboxes and said, this is what happened to me. This problem's widespread. It exists in the Highlands, it exists in the Western Isles, it exists everywhere. So the Scottish Government, we know, don't speak for the population in general, but their knowledge of this subject is incredibly poor. Their expertise on it is incredibly poor. And I don't think that even if the funding was granted for inquiry, I don't think they should be allowed to conduct one, because they're too inept. They're in no way qualified to investigate the scale or the claimed or the potential scale of this, going by their handling of the Scottish abuse inquiry, which was directed at places like, convents and stuff like that, and places like Warriors. They've got a track record of getting it grossly wrong and being diabolical at handling, people that have had horrifically traumatic lives. Look at the fact they won't even dip their toes into Fernethi, and they're trying to bury people's histories and bury their records and lock them down for 100 years, because to address potentially 90,000 survivors of institutional abuse at Fernethi would bankrupt the Scottish Government overnight. So that's not a fire they want to poke. That's why we need people like Craig Houston in power, because they are morally decent people, they are transparent people, and they'll stand on what's right, regardless of who's dangling carrots in front of them.
Well, thanks for that, Alex. I think that's why there'll be a lot of people who don't want me here. I mean, Basil and I spoke about this probably a year ago, and Basil said, you put your head above the parapet, you want to get elected, you do know that the SNP are going to come for you. And I said to you, and again, I probably remember the conversation, I says, don't kid yourself. None of them will want me to the place. Because even the access you get to information as an MSP, nowhere near the access to information you get as an MP. But it's a lot more than any FOI will ever give you. So, and as it happened, I'm not going to say too much about my current case because I'm due to court on the 7th of November. But in the cold light of day, and I'm able to speak more openly about that, I'll tell you some pretty kind of crazy stories about what happened to me in the lead up and after my arrest. And it wasn't an SNP. That's about all I'll say now. Anyway, Alex is
I've got to shoot.
I just wanted to say, go on, mate. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Alex, I'm a big fan of your videos, mate, so keep up the good work. Thank you very much, everyone. Catch you later.
What, the selfies? Thank you. Target selfies are my thing. What I would say is that we are being pushed towards racism at this point. I heard Kev speak. So Kev Durante, I've heard his uptick in certain things, and I wouldn't say Islamophobia and stuff like that. That's not our main issue. Honestly, it's not. It's the overreach of the government at the moment. And I'm not a massive supporter of Islam, anything like that. However, I will actually allow Sharia law councils in this country. So I'm probably central right. I believe that the westernized, inverted commas, women, when they're talking about child separation, divorces and stuff like that, when you look at what they actually deal with, we were talking an uptick of 220%, okay. There was 32 and now there's 84, something like that. I'm not a flag shagger on any state. I didn't go to Tommy Robinson's marches. Don't vote reform. What I'm saying to you is I understand the NHS and I understand the legal system, the education system. We can't curtail these people, and Liverpool's built on immigration. However, we've got a fucking security issue. Close these borders. And being labelled as right-wing with these views, I'll bring Shania Begum back home, traffic at 15. I'll argue all day, every day over that. But they want to label us, where Alex is talking about minors. This is what we need to protect these children, and we're not doing it. We've not met the market at all.
Of not what, sorry?
We've not met the market where we're meant to do. We're a first world country. You're going to get a phone call if your children doesn't go to school by 9:30 in the morning. When they're out on the streets, we're allowing these illegal immigrants to come in. It's completely wrong. I've got anecdotal evidence. I can sit there all day, every day. I've reported something to terrorist police with me and my daughter that happened in a taxi 4 years ago. I'm in my 40s and I can honestly say I've only seen this post-COVID. The uptick is massive. We've got a problem on our hands, honestly. And they gatekeep these, this demographic. They will gatekeep them all day, by the way. So when we're talking about grapes and stuff like that, that's fine. But try to get back to the real facts on it and who's grooming children. And when I say grooming, it's fucking rape. Let's be honest about it. It's rape, it's child rape, and it's white children. But you're not allowed to say that.
Yeah, even that word, Alex, if you say it too often in this...
oh, sorry.
Just nobody will see it once.
Sorry, no. I thought we were okay on YouTube. Sorry.
No, and I've been that terrible time with YouTube just now, pal. It choked the life out of me since my arrest, funnily enough. I do think things just don't add up when you look at the analytics. The videos are getting watched longer. More people are clicking to watch them when they see them, but not far. I mean, like 10 times less people are getting my videos put in front of them.
Craig, I'll be brief, to be honest. So basically, that's where I'm at as a central. Well, I say I'm right of centre. I'm just centre. It's just common sense at this point. I don't believe in mass deportations now, anything like that. I believe in security checks. I believe in going back through the backlog of immigration and cherry picking. We should do that.
You say you're against deportation. I take it that doesn't include people that shouldn't be here or people that have broke the laws here?
Mass deportation on illegals, 100%. Yeah, I believe that there is such thing as illegal immigrants. They are the ones who cross the border, who do something to against the law. So where they're saying, well, they're claiming asylum, that for me doesn't sit right. No, you're an illegal. I would take a tooth out of every single person's head who is claiming that they're 16, because most of them are mid-30s, I'll be honest with you. I've had something where I've worked in the school sector, and there was someone who was claiming that they were in the 15, 16. They were obviously in the 20s. It's ridiculous where we've
Do you know
gone.
why they do that?
Well, obviously, yeah, I know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's because you get a different set of, well, a different book you go through to claim asylum. If you're a minor, it's far easier than if you're an adult. That's why they do it. I mean, there was a famous case up here. I was going with a girl 12 years ago, and she had started working in one of the most secure units for kids in Scotland. And it was a big case. It was a hash grow factory up on the north side of Glasgow, and it was all, I can't remember what nationality they were, but they were like Pakistan, but it was like Sri Lankans or something. I can't just remember, right? But it was like hundreds of them arrested. They were just buses all day going up and arresting these people, right? And she was working that night, and this guy got flung into this secure unit, and the only 2 words in English he could say was, "I'm 14." Right? And what happened? And this went on forever. She never worked in the place that long. She hated it. But for like a year anyway, or just under a year, she would have to escort this guy. And the reason he put him in the secure unit is because he couldn't guarantee that he couldn't put him in a prison, because if it turned out he was a minor, their arse sued off him, and they couldn't put him in a normal, secure unit, because he would have access to other kids, and that could go a bit strange as well. So they put him in this almost lockdown place that she worked. And then about 2-3 months later, she would have to escort him, all the security guard guys, way up to court, and they would stand there with a translator, and the translator would be asked to speak to him, and the translator would say, "I don't speak his language." So what language does he speak? So I don't know, but I kind of think it might be Mandarin, or it might be whatever. So they would take him back to the place, and another month later, she would escort him up to the court, and they'd go through the whole charade again and again and again. So this isn't a new thing, because it gets them treated different when they break the law. But when they come into the country, if you can claim that you're a minor, it's far easier to claim asylum.
See, this is where we stand. This is an aggressive stance, inverted commas, that I hold. Pull a tooth, okay? Let's pull a tooth. It's against their human rights. It's against my human rights to allow these people in and buy my daughter. Okay. I'm not going to go into what happened, but a taxi driver was on a booked fare, 6:30, 3 years ago, outside the Adelphi Hotel, had to stop and pick me and my daughter up because he saw us being cornered by these people. It was a woman that I met off Twitter, Louise, her name is, but she came to pick a dog up, and she said, "I've booked a hotel on a Saturday night." Cheapest place was the Adelphi Hotel. Absolute shithole. We went to the 3rd floor, and we witnessed, do you know what? I'm not even going to go into what my child witnessed, because I'll get reported for it. It wasn't pretty. We went back downstairs. They had people on the door, inverted commas, bouncers. And we were literally cornered afterwards. And I was just like, this is like 7 o'clock in the night, 6:30, 7 o'clock. Not late whatsoever. And a taxi driver had to stop for us. This is my home fucking town. I refuse to believe that the government don't know that this is happening. Mm-hmm. They know it's happening, and they're welcoming it at this point.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's just because, and I don't know if it's, people talk about the Kalergi plans and all these things, right? And I'm not that clever. I don't know if these things are true or not.
I think it's viable. So
It's viable.
my
I don't think you
children,
can ignore it.
I think you can't ignore it. If you look at it, if you do a boxing exercise and you look at a plan of it, it makes sense.
Mhm.
I don't know. You have to look at
I'm
it.
not that
Craig.
clever to I'm not that clever to say that is 100% the thing that's caused all this, right? It could be that there's just some evil people about, right? But it doesn't matter. The amount of shite that we need to deal with. And the one that gets my nut in, right? I'm unfortunate that I live in part of the UK that's got two governments. And the second tier of government I need to deal with, the SNP. The one that really got me and I thought, shit, these people might be right, was when they tried to push through the gender recognition bill. And you thought, it just doesn't make sense. Why would you want people to, without any medical inspection at all, nothing? Just be
So
able to take
I don't know what that is. So do you want to tell me what that is?
Right, there was a bill that went through Parliament. It went through the Holyrood Parliament, which done two things. It allowed you to self-certify whatever sex you wanted to be. You paid £5. You didn't need any medical person, nothing. You could just fill out the form and I'm a woman. And that's it. You can't argue about it because it's in law, right? And the other thing was lowering the age that you could start any gender reconstruction shit, right? Basically cut your boobs off if you're whatever, 13, whatever. So they were starting to, this stuff get passed out of Parliament. And thankfully, Westminster said, no, you can't do that, right? We're not letting you do it. It went to court, right? So that kind of got my interest, my eyebrows raised. But then at the same time, you go, well, hold on a minute. See if one Bampot government, i.e. the Scottish one, in the whole world, decided that that was the right thing to do, you could put it down to just, we've got a Bampot government. But then you looked at Australia, and you looked at movements that were trying to do the same in America, and you looked at what was happening in Canada, and all these places all over the world were all trying to do the exact same thing at the exact same time. And then I started looking back, and I thought, well, let's look at COVID. And the way we dealt with COVID was almost uniform across the world. There was wee tweaks here or there.
Lockstep. It was lockstep, 100%.
Yeah. So when you, and then you, it doesn't matter what fucking Bampottery stupid thing you want to look at that your government does. I'll guarantee you, they're not the only ones. And then you go, who's playing the chess at this? Who's making these moves? Because it does not, the chances of that all being coincidence are probably trillions to one. Right, that you happen to be on this planet at the exact same time. All these governments all over the world had the exact same, almost to the letter, responses to what was meant to be a world pandemic. They'd all these, and it was only Western civilizations or, you know, first world countries that had all this gender recognition stuff going on. And then you consider, well, let's look at the schooling and what we educate people. And guess what? There's places all over the world that are doing the same things at the same time. And I can't believe that is coincidence. And I'm not clever to tell you.
How old's your youngest, if you don't mind me asking?
21.
So my my oldest is 16. He went to school. He was given facial recognition to open doors. We are the only parents, guardians over our children. We've opted out of a class of 31 and 32 who don't fucking sit in bed with this. At first, they asked for the fingerprints. This was in 2020. And then my daughter's gone last year into secondary school, same school. Now it's facial recognition. What they said is, with COVID, we don't want you touching the same thing. Now we want your fucking iris. Understand, you might have bred and expelled your children. You don't own them. Please don't give away this data. And even if you haven't got a tinfoil hat on, the government can't protect this data whatsoever. And this is the issue that I've got, where I'm far right on certain things. I just know that a 15-year-old child hacked the Pentagon. Like, make it make sense. They can't protect this data at best. we're handing this over, the riding roughshod over this, without it being too sinister. If you can't have something like the Pentagon that can't be hacked, where the fuck are we? Honestly, we can't trust them with this information. This information is going to be your fingerprint, your iris. It's going to open your front door. It's going to be your passport. It's going to be this, that, and the other. I've already accepted it somewhat. The likes of me and you, Craig, we're in our 40s. We can opt
I
out.
was in my 40s, Alex. I would really love to be in my 40s, pal.
Well, I'm in my 40s, honey pie. But what I would say is that we can opt out. We can find somewhere where I can go and work somewhere else, cash in hand. Let's be honest. I can go and do whatever the fuck I want to do. I own my own property and whatever. My son's 16. He cannot opt out, inverted commas. To even do a rental, you need 3 forms of identification and digital ID now. It's fucking crazy. Honestly, they're fucking cooked. These kids are cooked.
And that's the bit that disappoints me, and that's why I decided to try and get into Scottish Parliament. Because the thing that really depresses me is we must be the first generation, at least in modern times, if not forever, that's going to hand over society in a worse state than we inherited it. And that breaks my heart. That actually breaks my heart.
100%. There's no comeback from this. As much as I repost stuff and I'll be like not an agitator, but someone who commentates on it. I know the nature of the beast, and we are fully done. Like our children, what they're going to inherit is absolutely horrific.
Yeah. And it's as if they're getting programmed to make it that it's acceptable. I'll get a horrible story, right? My oldest is 26. Yeah. And hold on a minute. No, that's terrible. He's 25. And I remember, I can't remember what election it was, but it was something we had to vote on. It might have been a council election, and we've got different ages up here, so he might have been 16. And he was still at school, and he got in a car one day, and he lives with his mum, and he started talking about politics because he had to vote. And I was like, oh, what are you voting? And he told me the way he was voting, and it made no sense to me whatsoever. But what I did know is, I know his mum's politics, and I know his mum's family's politics, and it certainly wasn't them that had put this thing into his head that the way he should vote, right, or the way he was considering voting, at least. And I says, why do you want to vote for them? And he told me all these wonderful things that they'd done. And every single one of them, I was able to tell him the truth.
To debunk, Craig, my son is a massive socialist, believe it or not. He's got a massive Discord, about 100k. He runs, he's 16. Away you go, you do that. You understand that when you've got your own house and your own children, you'll be fucking disillusioned when you've paid tax. These children, like the left wing, are very disillusioned. And when we talk about the left wing, these are ugly middle-class women who can't get a fuck all day, every day, by the way. And most of them are childless, or we've got gay men. And that's it. That's it for the far left. There's no one else.
I said to him, once I debunked all these crazy ideas he had in his head, right? I said, I know your mum's not spoke to you about this. Why did you think that was the truth? He says, my teacher told me. And I'm like, that's not your teacher's job. But we're talking about politics. I says, yeah. And what they should be teaching you at school at your age is how democracy works, how parliaments work, you know, what voting's all about, what you're actually voting for and what they're able to do. That's what they should be teaching you when you're talking about politics. No, this is a theory and an ideology that you should be following.
Craig, do you know what they should teach as a TA in a primary school? Basic hygiene, how to like meditation, how to switch off and stuff like that. Self-reporting on what adults are doing to you. Alex will say himself. reporting on adults on what they're doing and safe spaces and feeling that you're empowered to do that. This is what we should be fucking teaching children, not precipitation of rain clouds and geography. So my child was late going into school this morning and I went, what did you burst? And she went, geography. And I started laughing. I thought, what's she going to be taught? Precipitation of rain clouds. When has that ever helped me in life?
Yeah.
It's not going to help you.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of stuff in the curriculum that doesn't make sense, but there's a lot of stuff in the curriculum that's downright scary. Name something that's helpful in the curriculum, and I'm going to wait. Well, I'll give you a laugh, right? I'm just back for holiday, and my partner should get a boy. He's just on 13, right? And that's it. We're getting ready to get one night, right? And he's come out of his wee room. And I'm ready, and his mum's doing a bit of a woman day for that hour when you don't really know what they're doing in the bathroom. And he just turned round, right, and he went, Craig, which pi? And I says, it's 3.14. I can't remember after that, but I think it's about 3.47, right? And he started rhyming off pi about the 10th number, right? And I looked and I went, why the fuck does he know that? And even worse, right? Why the fuck did I need to know? I've not been at school for nearly 40 years, right? I'm 52. So, I left school at 16, so that's 36 years I've been at the school, and I can still remember 3.14. Now, he was quite impressive. He knew all the digits after that. But I was thinking, when did I ever need pi? And he still needs it today.
No, you've said it's impressive. It's impressive indoctrination. That he finds it important. Honestly, it's so fucking shocking what we're taught. I worked as a breastfeeding peer support worker in Liverpool Women's Hospital, and I can honestly say the overreach of parents, females, mothers, when you're trying to teach someone to breastfeed who's 13, 14, and they're saying, like, I want to breastfeed and this, and they want to come out of the matrix kind of thing and do that. And the mum's going, no, and I have to send them away. And they're like, well, that's my child. And I'm like, no, that's their parent. I have to do that in that thing. This is where I've actually seen children be adults. That is the only time in my life I can think of off the top of my head. Everything else, like you said, you're impressed by him given the ratio of pi percentage. No, that's what I was going to say. I know why you're impressed, but because you can't remember it. It's a memory game. That is what education is. It's a memory game.
Yeah, but what the whole point is, in 36 years, we've never discovered and done something about the fact that I didn't need to know what pi was when I was 16. Because I've never used it since. Right? Well,
I've worked in sports and gaming, Craig. I can honestly tell you, as a high-end hand settler on racetracks, inspector, croupier, everything else like that, pi has never, ever come into my existence. My whole career has been built on maths. My whole career has been built on maths for 20 years.
Yeah.
Never once.
One son's just passed his chartered accountancy degrees, right? So he's done his 5 years at uni, and he's now done another 4 years as an accountant. So he's now finally a chartered accountant. So he uses maths quite a lot. And I'll guarantee you, he never used pi, right? Now, if we need pi, and let's say an engineer needs to know what pi means, right? Because
what does pi mean to you?
It was to me, it was for them, it was something to do to work out the radius of a circle, right? It was something to do. Now, if somebody is an engineering or a design thing, they need to know it, they could teach you in probably about 32 seconds when you go to do your degree that leads to you to actually know that, right? So, it's quite bollocks to me that
Craig, you've hit the nail on the head. You said the radius of the circle, that's it. Like verbatim, that's it, period. We don't need to know anymore. Right. That's it. Why are we teaching these children this shit?
I know, but what ridiculous. they're teaching my child that the SNP are the greatest thing in the history of the world. That's even more frightening to me. The two things are completely irrelevant. You don't need to be taught any of them at school, right? But one of them's a waste of time, and the other one is dangerous, right? And then when you actually consider now, thankfully, touch wood, my two were kind of out of school before all the gender critical shite came along, right? But you know, talk well, do you feel like a girl? It's like, stop it. Yeah, that's not your job either. And what we're doing with kids is very, very dangerous. But if you tell enough kids today that, you know, a man can be a woman, some of them will fall into their head. And if you do the same thing,
Oh, Craig, don't get me on it. Honestly, I get your YouTube took down. Honestly, I've said it a million times. We can opt out of sex education. We can opt out of religious education. We can't opt out of RSE framework. This is mandatory learning for every child. Relationships, sex education. So this is mandatory learning. So under the guise of that will be gay marriage. I'm fine with. I've got no bother with that. Stop telling children they are in the wrong body, inverted commas. This is absolutely abhorrent. This is mandatory framework. So what you can do is you can go back to your school and they will say, this is mandatory. There's 7 classes each year, which is mandatory. There's probably only between 7 and 10, which each primary school. All of these children are now forced into this. And it's the likes of me and you who are a little bit older, where we'd sit back on our laurels and go, oh, well, I'm not really sure. You know, like we're a little bit older and whatever, not bothered. I looked into this only because I was a TA about 4 years ago, and I couldn't believe. And my daughter is sick, inverted commas, on every single class that they do. I won't allow her to attend. It is indoctrination. There's books like When Kyle Was Kyla, a little boy touching the mirror and he's wearing a dress and shit like that. Like they're normalising this. The school that I worked in was in public sector. I'll dox myself, to be honest. Hay Green School, it's called in Wavertree. The demographic was 96% universal credit and free school meals. Most of the children couldn't speak a word of English. A lot of them were slow and behind and stuff like that, extra needs. And then we've got the issue that they couldn't speak the first world language and then they kept back. It's horrible. I felt bad on both sides. I've literally doxed myself and I don't care. I will never go back into that sector again, Craig. It's horrific what's going on. It's horrific.
Aye, it is. Well, I'm going to need to finish on a bit of good news, a bit of positivity, Alex, right? I sit in this seat, right? It's like a dining room seat. It's quite comfortable and it's got arms and all, right? But I tweaked my back while I was on holiday and I've got real soft, weak lower back. And I'll just day me out for a week, right? So I've been sitting here all day and I'm like, I would like a bit of lumbar support for me to help my posture and help my back, right? And by pure chance, I found
do you want me to make you a GoFundMe or something?
No, look. See that? Empty water bottle. Do you know what I've done this afternoon? I went, I'm going to stick that there, right? And it took a wee bit of letting a wee bit of hair out it, and, right, to get the pressure right, but I tell you something, Alex, it's absolutely heaven. Because when I've got a bit of pain, I just go like that. My posture's a bit better, and my back pain goes. So anybody suffering a bad back because it's sitting too long, don't buy a chair at £2,000. Get yourself a bottle of water, and who's that? Right, you're in twice. You're freaking me out now. Get yourself an empty plastic bottle and stick it in the back, small of your back, because it's the best thing ever. Anyway, I need to go because I've been doing this for 2 hours, 24 minutes and 34 seconds. So before we finish up, we've been left with just 2 guests, LX and Denzo. Have you got anything you want to say before we finish up? No, it's new LX and LX. LX. Is that Alex? All I can see is a light shade and a forehead. It's awful spooky. You're freaking me out now. Now Denzel come back in.
I don't know what happens. See, anytime somebody leaves or somebody joins, all my sound just cuts off.
I don't know what you're doing. You're freaking me right out.
I think the camera's on, but it's okay.
It is on, and it looks like it's actually, I've worked it out, it's your ceiling, but it looks like it's inside your light shade.
Oh, it's my ceiling, yeah. I don't know how to turn it off. We'll be all right.
I thought that was a lampshade.
I'm literally, and then as the house goes, and I look like a crack demon, so I'm just going to work out how to turn this off.
I think I can maybe do it. Right, so anything you want to finish up on before I turn this off and go to my bed?
No, it's been good to hear you back, Biggie.
Is it?
Aye, I know a lot of people like this wee show that you put on every week, and always brings up a good topics to talk about. Because let's face it, we've got loads of topics to talk about right now. I
didn't realise that was Sean before when you had him on. He looked dead young.
Aye, that was real Sean. But he started his own YouTube channel, so you'll see his face a lot more.
So I was speaking on his live this morning, and his dad came on, and I was like, I messaged him. I never ever messaged him, and I was like, why does your dad sound younger than you? His dad sounds about like 40, and I was like, why does he sound younger than you? It was so weird to see him. Like I didn't look like that.
Sandra Scott at 28 minutes past 10 saying, hiya, Craig. Now, if you've not been here since 8 o'clock, Sandra, when this went live, I'm most disappointed in you. You're one of the faithful that's here at every one.
Sandra, shame on you.
That's terrible, isn't it? But
still people.
I'm joking, Sandra.
Still people are still getting unsubscribed to your channel. I've unsubscribed again.
I know, but YouTube tell me that it's not it's not a problem.
Well, is there somebody I could get in touch with to make them aware of this? Because that's twice that's happened.
You can ask them. I don't know how you do it. When I contact YouTube, I always do it on a laptop, and I'm not sure if you use your phone, if there's a way of doing it. We've got like a help desk thing with, one of these chat things.
Do you know what, Craig? Do you know when I was saying to you before, it wants me to subscribe? If you click through the link, you've shared it to me on X, and then I click through that link to come up. But if you actually access it through YouTube, it wants you to pay £2.69 a month for you. Wow. I'm not paying that to speak to you.
Serious?
You're not paying it.
I don't like him that much, to be honest.
All right, that's your comment.
That's okay. Just tax deductible, Alex, and I'll give you £2 at that, right? I don't have a clue. If you're going to screenshot that, if you start again.
No, I'll show you. I screenshotted it before, actually. I'm going to send it to you. It wouldn't let me join without paying £2.69 to you, and I was like, oh, fuck him.
That's
me, Craig, yeah? You get somebody up here on your show and they just give you dogs abuse, Big.
I know.
Do you know what he's like? What's it called? Right-wing men, only fans. That's basically what Craig's doing at the moment.
I kind of suggest with this face, Alex, I would be a poor only fans. But
just go get out your 3,000 for finder.
Aye, but I get told today on Twitter, for not the first time, I'm a grifter.
Oh, very good.
Aye.
Have you really been told that today?
Well, once today, right? But that kind of stacks up, though, that you're saying that you need to pay £2.69 and I sent you a link.
No. I went through the link on Twitter, and that's how I've been able to enable it. The YouTube makes me want to pay, so I couldn't come up before. So literally that you've done it through the DM on X I've been able to access it free, inverted commas, but yeah, it wanted to charge me.
That's amazing, though, Craig.
But if you want
A guy
£2.69 a month, Craig, I'm going to pay you.
I tell you, that's amazing, though, Craig.
You're all right.
A guy that's actually standing up and saying, "Do you know what? I'll try and do something for this country. I'll be an MSP. I'll lead a party. I'll try and get myself and other people into that building." But guess what? You're a grifter, big man. Aye, well done.
I know. But also, it was also bad. Do you know what happened today as well, which was weird to me? Do you know that Millie Hunter? She's an SNP. She's Nicola Sturgeon's busy mate, right? She's one of them.
I've seen that one, aye.
She actually responded to me today.
Did she really?
I've been tormenting her for like ages. No, like cheeky or anything. Just every time she posts something, particularly about the asylum issue in Glasgow, I would jump on. She started actually answering my questions. And she apologised at one point because she says, "That's not realistic, Craig." And I says, "It is if you look at, you said this and I've responded by saying that." And she said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I misread that. Here's your answer." I was like, I'm not saying I like the woman, right? Because I kind of, I couldn't, a step too far. But I thought, you know, I'm fair play to you. Actual fair play to you. And it was in this conversation that this guy who was, you know, one of these retards that wants to defend the SNP at the Hill, they can't do any wrong. And he was saying, we don't have any asylum seekers in Glasgow. And I'm like, mate, shut up. I'm going out tomorrow to do a cracking video about how Glasgow City Council are talking shite. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm going to film. I know what I'm going to say. And you're talking shite, mate. It's just play on words. Do you know how they do it, right? See, you're an asylum seeker. Once they stop being an asylum seeker, they either get sent home because they're failed or they're given refugee status. So when they say we don't have any asylum seekers in council properties, they're not actually telling us a lie because they're refugees. So it's actually just a play on words. And what they're saying as well is there is no asylum hotels in Glasgow, which we know is bollocks because there's one 2 miles up that road, right?
Aye.
But what the reason that they're not telling lies at that one is the hotels, when the Mears Group buy them, right, they change the use. They legally change the use. So it isn't a hotel anymore. So that's total gaslighting, right? Or lies, whatever way you want to term it. But it's not technically lies because there are no hotels in Glasgow with asylum seekers in them. So I'm going to do a sort of, not an expose, because anybody that watches it will know they're talking shite anyway, but just to break down the lies and the gaslighting that we're getting from our council in Glasgow. Anyway, I need to go because I feel as if I'm doing an endurance test tonight. So thanks very much everybody for tuning in. Thanks very much for everybody that came up that was helped me get through this 2 hours 32 minutes and 48 seconds. And thanks very much to the thousands that are watching and listening. But I'm looking right now at my YouTube, and my YouTube is a third of what it was usually when we done lives. And that's not because people don't like the show. We've got quite a good, loyal audience. It's because they're not getting the video put in front of them. And that's where I need help. I just need people, because the YouTube algorithm's taking the piss out of me. So what I need is people just to share, comment, and hit the thumb button every time they see one of my videos to try and jolt the algorithm again, because it's pretty shit. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. So thanks very much for everybody who took part and for those who were with us throughout the evening for even 10 minutes. So have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.